Optical Flares allows you to use real lens textures in your lens flare presets. So if we go into the options here, we have our standard lens flare, and I'm going to come over here to the lens objects and add an iris element. Now, this is a procedural mathematic object. Now, it looks pretty good, and we can give some smoothness and really play with the settings, but for some things you really want to make them look realistic. Why not use an actual iris element? So if we go to the object shape, we can change it from a polygon to a texture. And then if we click on the texture image, we see the texture browser. And we can scroll down and we can click through some of these real texture elements. And then if you find one you like, just hit OK. And we'll go ahead, we'll scale this up, and we'll brighten it up and maybe even tint it a little bit of a color there. And we'll go back into the texture browser. And what's cool is it updates as you look through them. So you can find something that you like. And this also works with the multi-iris. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. Maybe we'll use that big one there. We'll hit OK. We'll add another lens object, the multi-iris. And just to show off a copy-paste feature, I can go to the object shape here, right-click, copy, click on the multi-iris, go down to the object shape, right-click, and paste. And it may be hard to see, but we've essentially pasted that exact same iris into the multi-iris. So now we have a pretty cool looking flare. Now we've also added some other unique functions as well. So if we go to the iris, I'm going to go into the texture image, and we're going to change it from being an iris element to one of these caustic elements. Now a caustic is sort of a light element that has some random characteristics about it. Now if we come up here, we can scale the object up, and we'll turn the brightness up as well. Now the problem, it's a texture and it's not rotating, it's just sitting there. So if we take the object, we can go to the iris control and set it to orient towards the light. So now if we rotate it properly, and instead of rotating it, probably want to change the orientation. So we orient it towards the light source, and now that object points towards the light and looks a lot more realistic. Now we can change the distance from the light source by increasing this distance amount, maybe scale it down, but you can see that just really adds a more natural look to the flare because that is an actual real element from a real lens flare. Now what's great about optical flares is we can use a custom layer for the custom texture. So in this case, we have this custom light array, and it's just some lights from a stadium, and we're going to use them inside of our lens flare preset. Now I've already set it up, so I'll go in here, choose custom layer outside of the plugin. We'll set the source to the custom lights. And now you can see that they show up in our lens flare. And if I scrub through it, you can see that they're part of the lens flare, but they create that realistic blinding light effect where you have those elements show up kind of close to the screen. So let's just take a look at it and render it out. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see the idea behind custom textures, and it's a pretty cool feature.